Hey everybody, hope you're doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wanders. I was thinking today that it's pretty amazing to be able to share these videos of whiskeys with the whole world and with you all. And at least to me, it's so strange why some whiskeys are so expensive in one part of the country and not nearly as expensive in other parts of the country. It's really hard to get my head around. But anyway, this opportunity to make these videos and have a sense of community around something like whiskey, well, it just gives me the warm and fuzzy. I'm just thankful for everyone who does watch these videos and as you can see, we are growing at a pretty good clip. Again, thank you all. It means a lot to me, and hopefully that you enjoy these videos as well. And you know what? I've started to put these out kind of on a regular basis every Tuesday and Fridays. That's when you can kind of figure out when I'm going to put them out. It had been kind of inconsistent in the past, but I think we're going to stick with this one for the time being. Now, today I'm back in one of my favorite Costco's in Southern California, which is in Carlsbad, which is a city in northern part of San Diego. And this one consistently has one of the best selections of whiskeys at Costco that I've seen in Southern California. And again, this visit does not disappoint. Today, we see a 40-year-old whiskey from the now destroyed LittleMill distillery, as well as a more high-end Jack Daniels offering, the Jack Daniels single barrel. And lastly, an Irish whiskey made for Middleton, the Barry Crockett Legacy Edition, which I wish I would have gotten. But no regrets, right? I guess. Now, before we get to though, if you like these little videos of me whiskey shopping at Costco, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when my newest videos get put up. So thanks again, and let's get down to it. Okay, so first things first, I want to talk about this higher end offering from the good folks at Jack Daniels, which is this Jack Daniels single barrel. And really, as always, on trend, you see Jack Daniels coming out with smaller and smaller boutique style whiskeys on the upscale side of the whiskey market. And I'm not talking about Gentleman Jack or things like that, but something more like this one, which is the Jack Daniels single barrel, or as well as a cask strength version of it. But Jack Daniels is really storming the trenches with their higher end lineup to make the most out of the current whiskey boom while they can, right? It makes sense to make hay while you can. Also, did I mention this one is just from a single barrel, obviously because it's a single barrel, but good to know, right? Now, the Jack Daniel's single barrel has a mash bill of 80% corn, 12% barley, and 8% rye. And although it doesn't have an age statement on it, it is likely aged between 5 and 7 years old in the barrel. I would say this one probably is a step up from the Gentleman Jack and seems to be a fit for some sort of niche where you would find other ones like maybe the Four Roses single barrel, even maybe that Johnny Walker Green as far as price and kind of people who buy it, sort of in that range. Now, the price on it is definitely higher than what you'd normally expect to pay for a Jack Daniels at $34.99 at Costco. But the high and low prices have a pretty big discrepancy in the range from $79.99 on the high side to $44.39 on the low side. So either way, with both prices averaged out, it would mean that the average price for the Jack Daniel's single barrel comes out to $62.19, which also means that if you pick it up at Costco, you get a savings of $27.20 off the average street shelf price, or 43.74%. So percentage-wise, that's quite good. Now, the ABV on it is noticeably higher than the standard Jack Daniels at 47% or 94 proof, which would be really dangerous if they sold it in the 1.75 liter bottles like the standard Jack Daniels. The tasting notes on it mention that it has a full mouthfeel as well as cereal sweetness, cigar box flavor, banana bread, and syrupy mouthfeel with a hint of spice. So basically just more JD-ness, Jack Daniel-ness from the normal JD, but just more. Now, the review scores on it are also not as friendly as you might have thought, with the average review score coming out to 79.5 points out of 100. And it's not really clear why, but my guess would be that compared to its bigger, stronger, well, less strong, so bigger, weaker, but more popular and cheaper brother, the normal Jack Daniels, it just seems that this one would need to be really a breakout whiskey to stand apart from it. And it doesn't seem to be that. So in conclusion, I think on this one, it's going to be a pass. The price for what it is seems fair, but just as much history as I have with Normal Jack, I'm just not a big fan of any new albums. I want to hear them play all the old hits, so I'll stick with the original Jack Daniels, if you catch my drift. Now, this next whiskey is another one that I have been seeing more and more recently, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm noticing it more, or if it's always been there, or maybe it's just something that's getting sent over more. But it's this LittleMill 40, and I think previously I think we saw like a LittleMill 27 a couple weeks ago. And really, in fact, that they give this taste a little bottle. I like it. They have a little bottle that goes with it. And the nice thing about it is you don't have to crack open the big bottle to try it, and that way you know if you like it or not. Now, the Little Mill Distillery had actually shut down, if I recall correctly, in the early 1990s and had been in operation since the end of the 18th century. When it shut down, Loch Lomond, that's the other whiskey company, they bought up a lot of the stock that was probably a good choice because the distillery ended up burning down just a few years later. So every time I see this, it's a reminder of how brief the whiskey and I guess life is for that matter. And once it's gone, well, it's gone. The Little 40 is aged 40 years, sort of obvious, right? But it's aged in American oak barrels, then ex-bourbon barrels, and then finished in Oloroso casks. Only 250 bottles of this were actually made, and most are mainly sold in fancy schmancy places like the glass cases at the airport. Rightfully, though, it is behind the glass, especially considering the cost for it here at Costco is at $7,999. So, what? I'm just going to call it. It's $8,000, which seems like a lot, but when you look at the comparison to the high and low cost on the street shelf price, which is at $9,999 or $10,000 on the high side, and on the low side, $8,495.30 on the low side, you can see that the Costco price will definitely save you money. In fact, off of the average street shelf price of $9,247.15, if you do buy at Costco, you'll end up saving $1,248.15, which is really nothing to sneeze at dollar-wise, but 13.5%, which not as impressive. But it's still real money when you're looking at numbers that are this big, right? The ABV on this Little Mill 40 is set at a healthy 48.8%. In the tasting notes on it, mention things like cooked fruit, gentle spice, dried fruit nuts, and savory components, sort of like Kamada olives. The reviews on the Little Mill gave it a 91, which I think is a bit low for whiskey that cost $8,000. But I think often the scores, they tend to be graded on a curve to be more harsh for more expensive whiskeys and less harsh for less expensive whiskeys. So, sort of like a handicap in golf. Now, as far as buying this one, I think it's the same problem that I had with the other Little Mill, the 27, and it would be that it's just hard to justify spending $8,000 on really a whiskey that looks nice, is probably very good, but a whiskey that I've never had the opportunity to try, not even on the lower side. So I can't even say if I like the basics of the structure from the cheaper one to eventually justify buying the more expensive one, the one that's in the case right here. But also, if possible, I would like to buy the smaller one. I think I would be willing to buy the smaller one for a reasonable price and try that out. And then, you can probably see if you like it and then get the bigger one. Now, the last bottle for the day, admittedly, I have a fair amount of non-buyer's remorse. I don't know if that's a thing. Is that a thing? That's a thing. I just really regret not buying this one when I saw it because when I was doing the aisle research, I got sort of a ho-hum review from one single site, but great reviews from the other. And, trying to err on the side of caution, I just passed it out. But later, when I was doing this whiskey wandering research for this video, I looked at the other reviews, and the vast majority of the reviews outweighed that one bad one. So I should have bought it at least at this price, but just have to see next time if I go down there if there's any of it left. Also, did I mention this is the Middleton Crockett Legacy Irish Whiskey? Lately I've been really getting into Irish whiskey, likely because it's one of the only whiskeys that are consistently available at Costco. But most likely it's because I love the Redbreast, as well as all the different spots that have come out. And those are all from Middleton distilleries as well. Although it doesn't have an age statement on it, this one, it appears that the oldest whiskey in this one is 25 years old. And it's made from single pot stills, Irish style. It uses both malted as well as unmalted barley. It's named after Barry Crockett, who, despite sounding like an amazing outdoorsman from the 19th century, is actually the second generation master distiller from Midleton. It's distilled by Middleton, obviously, right? And it's in their super rare line. In the notes on the whiskey, it mentions that this whiskey is known for its complexity. Another selling point I should have taken into consideration, at least at the time when I saw it as well. And the cost on it is a bit high for my budget at $199 at the Costco price. But in comparison to the high and low of the street shelf price, where you can find it at $499 on the high side and $249.99 on the low side, it's a pretty good price at Costco. The average between the two high and lows come out to $374.50, which means that if you do end up getting this whiskey at Costco at the Costco price, you'll be saving $175.25 off the average street shelf price, or around 46%. So it's a pretty good savings. The ABV on it as well is at 46%, so that is a very reasonable ABV. And the tasting notes mention complexity, and complexity, as well as the taste of heavy cinnamon spice, sweet cream, fruit, and caramel. That just sounds good. Now, the reviews on it also were quite good at 92.6 points, but again, reviews are often written times by people who have really advanced whiskey palates, so of course they're going to be more favorable to whiskeys that are more complex, like the movie Inception, rather than the simple pleasures of Expendables 2. So, in conclusion, I should have bought this one. I really should have bought this one, at least at this price, and save up and maybe buy two if there are any next time I go down there. So I will definitely keep an eye out for this one. Be ready to pounce if I see it again, and I'll definitely be ready next time I see it. All right, so that's it for today's Whiskey Wandering at Costco in Carlsbad. Thank you all so much again for watching to the very end, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get notified when my newest videos get put up. Also, if you see a whiskey you love, remember, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will, and it might even be me. So have a great rest of your day. I'm out. Adios.